I came to the hospice not as a patient, but as a visitor. I sat in the hallway and cried. For a long time I couldn't bring myself to open the door behind which my loved one lay. In the last few years I have experienced more than most other people in 10 to 20 years. My name is Christine, and if you're listening to this, then maybe you believe, as I once did, that family is sacred. That blood ties can never be broken. That sisters grow together like branches from the same tree. I used to believe that too. Until the day I lost everything to the one person who should have protected me. Elizabeth. My sister. My rival. My shadow. She was older by just 2 years, but those 2 years always felt like a lifetime. From the day I was born, she was already ahead, prettier, bolder, sharper with her words, quicker with her charm. Our parents would always compare us in subtle ways. Elizabeth got straight A's. Elizabeth won another trophy. Elizabeth has so many friends. I was the quiet one, the dreamer, the one who needed time to bloom. But when I met Daniel, everything changed. Daniel wasn't like the boys who'd passed me by in high school or the shallow men at Beverly Hills parties. He was kind, brilliant, steady, a man who saw through me, not past me. He worked in finance, but his soul was an artist's. He played the piano late at night when he thought no one was listening. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like Elizabeth's shadow. I felt like someone's world. We dated for 2 years. 2 golden, glowing years that I thought would never end. And then, one evening under the Los Angeles sky, with fairy lights strung above us, he knelt down and held out a ring that shimmered like a promise. My heart nearly burst. I said yes with tears in my eyes, my voice trembling with joy. But love is blind. Too blind to see the danger sitting right beside me. The night I introduced Daniel to my family, I thought it would be the happiest night of my life. My parents welcomed him warmly, their eyes gleaming with pride that their youngest daughter had found a man so grounded, so gentle. But Elizabeth, oh, Elizabeth. I should have noticed the way her eyes lingered a little too long on him, the way her laugh became softer, silkier, whenever he spoke. At dinner, when Daniel complimented the food, Elizabeth leaned closer and whispered, "Wait until you taste my cooking someday." Everyone chuckled, but I saw the flicker in her eyes, a spark I'd seen before whenever she set her sights on something, or someone. At first, I dismissed it. She was my sister. My blood. Surely, I was imagining things. Surely, she wouldn't. But the messages began soon after. I found one by accident on Daniel's phone while he was in the shower. It wasn't explicit, not yet. Just Elizabeth saying, "Last night was fun. Can't wait to see you again." My chest tightened. I asked Daniel, and he brushed it off, said she was being playful, said I was overthinking. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. But lies have a way of rotting the foundation of love. Weeks later, I came home early from work. I had bought Daniel a gift, a silver watch he'd once admired in a shop window. I remember walking up the stairs to our bedroom with a smile on my face, ready to surprise him. But the surprise was mine. The door was half open. The laughter inside wasn't mine. The gasp I heard wasn't mine. And when I pushed the door open, my world shattered. There they were. My sister and my fiancé. In my bed. Entwined. The gift slipped from my hands and clattered to the floor. The look on their faces, shock, guilt, desire, is burned into my memory like a scar that will never heal. I screamed. I cried. I wanted to tear the world apart. But instead, I walked out. Because some betrayals are too deep for words. The wedding was off. My love was gone. My sister had won again. And so, I did the only thing I could, I ran. I took the honeymoon trip Daniel and I had planned, 2 weeks in Hawaii, and went alone. Alone with my broken heart, alone with the echo of betrayal. But Hawaii. Hawaii is a place where the ocean washes more than just the sand. It washes your wounds, your fears, your ghosts. And it was there, standing barefoot on the beach at sunset, that I met Michael. Michael, with eyes as deep as the sea, with hands that built dreams instead of breaking them. Michael, who taught me that love wasn't supposed to be a battlefield. That loyalty wasn't a myth. That maybe, just maybe, I could believe again. I didn't know then what fate had in store. I didn't know how much love could heal, or how much it could take away. Hawaii saved me. Or at least, that's what I told myself when I first landed there, clutching a suitcase filled more with heartbreak than clothes. I remember stepping out of the airport and breathing in the salty air, feeling the warmth of the island's sun against my skin. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was suffocating. I had no plan. No itinerary. The trip was supposed to be a honeymoon, but now it was just me, the abandoned bride, the woman with a scar where her wedding ring should have been. I booked myself into a small beachfront cottage, a place so different from the glamorous Beverly Hills mansion I had grown up in. It smelled of wood and ocean, and every night I fell asleep to the sound of waves instead of arguments. It was on my third evening there that I met him. Michael. He wasn't like Daniel, polished, ambitious, always dressed like the world was a boardroom. No, Michael was different. He was sun-kissed, his hair always a little messy from the wind, his shirt often rolled at the sleeves as if he was forever ready to work. I first saw him fixing a broken dock not far from my cottage. I stood there, watching as he worked with quiet determination, his strong arms moving with ease. I don't know what possessed me, but I called out, "Need a hand?" He looked up at me and smiled, a real smile, one that reached his eyes. "Depends. Do you know anything about docks?" "Not a thing," I admitted, and for the first time in weeks, I laughed. That laugh was the beginning. Michael and I spent the following days together, walking the beaches at sunrise, talking about everything and nothing, sharing stories beneath the stars. He was born and raised in Hawaii, the son of a fisherman. But unlike his father, Michael had bigger dreams. He managed a small hotel near the shore, a place he was slowly turning into a sanctuary for travelers. He showed me every corner of it with pride, and when he looked at me, I felt something I hadn't in so long, safe. One night, as the ocean roared in the distance, I confessed everything. I told him about Daniel, about Elizabeth, about the betrayal that had burned me alive. I expected pity. I expected silence. Instead, Michael took my hand and said softly, "You didn't lose love, Christine. You just lost the wrong man." His words settled in my heart like balm. For the first time, I thought maybe I could heal. Maybe I could trust again. And so, Hawaii became more than a place of escape, it became the place where I was reborn. Michael and I grew closer with every passing day, and by the time my honeymoon was supposed to be over, I realized I didn't want to leave. Not the island, and not him. We built a life together, piece by piece. He taught me how to cook local dishes, how to swim in waves without fear, how to let go of anger. And I gave him my heart, fully, without hesitation. 2 years later, we were married in a small ceremony on the beach. Just us, the ocean, and a few friends who had become family. No grand ballrooms, no sparkling chandeliers, no Elizabeth to cast her shadow. Only love. Pure, untainted love. For 2 years, I was happy. Truly happy. But happiness can be fragile. It began with headaches. Michael brushed them off, said it was stress, said it was nothing. Then came the dizziness, the fainting. One night he collapsed in my arms, and I knew it was something more. The doctors spoke in terms I didn't want to hear. Aggressive. Untreatable. Palliative care. Words that sliced me open. All they could do was ease his pain. Anesthesia for his body, nothing for his soul. I watched as the man who had saved me began to fade. They moved him into a hospice, and every day I sat by his side, holding his hand, whispering stories, pretending for a few minutes that the world was still ours. By then, I was 9 months pregnant with his child, our child. The miracle we had prayed for, now growing inside me even as he slipped away. On the day Michael left this world, the universe gave me both death and life. As his final breath shivered in the hospice room, my body gave in to labor. Hours later, I held our son in my arms, a perfect baby boy, whom I named Michael, after the man who had shown me the meaning of love. But fate wasn't done with me yet. Because that very night, my past came knocking again. Elizabeth. I thought the hospital room would be filled with silence that night, the hush of machines, the gentle coos of my newborn, the echo of my own grief. But instead, it was filled with footsteps. Familiar ones. When I looked up, my parents stood in the doorway. Behind them, Elizabeth. She looked almost the same as she had years ago, though something in her eyes had hardened, grown darker. For a brief moment, I thought maybe she had come to apologize. Maybe betrayal had aged her into wisdom. "Christine," my mother whispered, her hands trembling as she came forward to see the baby. My father kissed my forehead, his eyes misty with pride and sorrow. They were both overjoyed to meet their grandson, yet broken knowing they had just lost Michael. Elizabeth hung back, leaning against the doorframe, her eyes fixed on me. Or maybe on the child. I couldn't tell. Finally, she stepped closer. "He's beautiful," she said, her voice smooth, but her expression unreadable. "Michael would have been proud." Her words struck me like a knife, not because of what she said, but because of how easily she used his name. The same lips that had once whispered to Daniel in secret now dared to speak of my husband. Still, I nodded politely. I was too exhausted, too raw to fight. I thought perhaps she really was trying. But then, her mask slipped. When my mother reached out to pass the baby for Elizabeth to hold, she froze. Her eyes flickered, not with tenderness, not with joy, but with envy so sharp it cut the air. She forced a smile, but I saw the truth in her clenched jaw. Because Elizabeth had lost everything. Daniel, the man she stole from me, had left her. My parents told me in whispers later, but I didn't need them to. I saw it in her hollow gaze. He'd found another woman, younger, more naive, leaving Elizabeth discarded and alone. And here I was, despite everything she had done to me, cradling a baby born of true love. Loved by a man who had never betrayed me. A man who gave me loyalty until his last breath. It was unbearable for her. She handed the baby back as if he burned her hands, then turned sharply and stormed out of the room. My mother called after her, but Elizabeth didn't stop. She left in tears, the kind of tears I recognized all too well. Only hers were poisoned by hatred. That night, as I held my son and stared at the empty chair where Michael once sat, I realized something chilling. Elizabeth wasn't done with me. Grief has a way of binding people together. But in our case, it only widened the chasm between us. She hated me for my happiness, for my child, for the love I had found and lost, because even in tragedy, I still had something she didn't. I didn't see her again for weeks after that. My parents said she needed space, but I knew better. Elizabeth had always been a storm, silent before the strike, loud in its destruction. And so, when the funeral came, I half expected her to make a scene. Instead, she stood quietly in black, her face a mask of mourning. But when the coffin was lowered, she didn't cry. Not once. She only stared at me, her lips pressed into a thin line, as if daring me to fall apart. I didn't. Not then. I couldn't. But that night, alone in my bed with my son sleeping beside me, I felt a strange presence. A chill in the air. The creak of floorboards though no one was there. My heart pounded as shadows danced across the walls. And for the first time since Michael's death, I wondered, was it grief playing tricks on me, or had something followed me from the grave? After the funeral, Beverly Hills felt like a graveyard. The mansion that once echoed with Michael's laughter, with the sound of us planning our future, had turned into an empty shell. Every room reminded me of what I had lost, the scent of his cologne on our pillows, the glass he left half full on the counter, the worn slippers by the door. I couldn't breathe there anymore. That's when the letter came. Michael had left instructions with his lawyer. A sealed envelope with my name scrawled in his handwriting I thought I would never see again. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a short note, but it changed everything. Christine, if you are reading this, it means I couldn't stay with you as long as I promised. Forgive me. But you must live, my love. I want you to take what I've left in Hawaii, the hotel. It's yours now. Go there, breathe again, and raise our child where the ocean meets the sky. I will be with you in every wave. The tears didn't stop for hours. But for the first time since he died, I felt direction. Hawaii wasn't just where we'd planned our honeymoon, it was where Michael wanted me to heal. So, with my son in my arms, I left California behind. The hotel was nothing like Beverly Hills. It wasn't polished marble and cold glass. It was alive, wood and stone warmed by the tropical sun, walls painted by the sea breeze, windows opening to waves that never stopped whispering. But from the moment I stepped inside, I felt it, something lingered here. At first, I thought it was Michael. I would hear doors close when no one was there, the piano in the lobby play a single key in the middle of the night, the soft scent of his aftershave when I walked through the hallways. It comforted me, until it didn't. Because soon, the signs grew darker. One morning, I woke to find my son's crib moved to the other side of the room. The maids swore they hadn't touched it. Another time, as I walked through the hotel garden at dusk, I heard a whisper, not Michael's voice, but Elizabeth's. Cold, mocking. You don't deserve any of this. I turned, but no one was there. That night, I dreamed of her. She stood at the foot of my bed in a black dress, her eyes hollow, her lips red with blood. She leaned close to me and whispered, "You stole my life. I'll take yours." I woke up screaming, my son crying beside me. Was it just a nightmare? Or had Elizabeth somehow followed me here, her jealousy so strong it had turned into something else, something unearthly? Days passed. I tried to ignore the shadows, the whispers, the feeling of being watched. I focused on the hotel, on building a life for my son. Guests came and went, and I forced myself to smile, to be the grieving widow turned hostess. But one afternoon, as I was walking along the beach, I saw her. Elizabeth. At first, I thought it was another vision. She wore a wide hat, sunglasses, and a flowing white dress. But as she turned, I caught the glint of her eyes, unmistakable. My heart stopped. What was she doing here? Had she followed me across the ocean? I ran after her, calling her name. She didn't stop. She only walked faster, her dress trailing in the sand. But when I reached the bend of the shore, she was gone. No footprints, nothing. I stood there trembling, the waves crashing at my feet, knowing one thing for certain. My sister wasn't finished with me. And whether in flesh or in spirit, she had found me again. Hawaii was supposed to save me. Instead, it began to unravel me. At night, I walked the hallways of the hotel, listening. Sometimes it was only the ocean's roar. But other times, it was whispers, too faint to make out, yet too deliberate to dismiss. My guests never mentioned them, but I noticed they left earlier than planned, cutting their stays short. Something in the hotel unsettled them, though they never dared to say it aloud. One evening, after tucking my son into bed, I returned to the lobby to find the piano playing again. This time it wasn't a single note, but a melody. Slow, sorrowful. Michael's favorite piece. My breath caught, he had played it for me the night he proposed. I moved closer, and the keys stilled. No one was there. The bench was empty, yet the faint impression of someone's weight remained in the cushion. Michael? I whispered, tears burning in my eyes. But what answered me was not love. The chandelier above the lobby trembled violently and then shattered, glass raining down in a storm of glittering shards. I screamed and fell to the ground, covering my head. When the silence returned, I knew, this wasn't my husband watching over me. It was something darker. I couldn't shake Elizabeth from my mind. The vision on the beach haunted me. Was she truly here? Or had my grief and exhaustion twisted her into a ghost that followed me everywhere? 2 days later, I got my answer. In the hotel office, I found an envelope slid under the door. My name written in a hand I knew too well. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, only one sentence. You can't run from me, Christine. No signature. No explanation. But I didn't need one. My sister was alive. She was here. And she wanted me to know it. I hired private security for the hotel. Men to patrol at night, cameras in every corner. Yet somehow, Elizabeth slipped through everything. The cameras glitched at the strangest moments, showing static just when someone passed the lens. Then the accidents began. A loose railing on the balcony, though the maintenance crew swore it had been secure the day before. A gas leak in the kitchen that nearly set the entire hotel ablaze. My car brakes failing on the winding cliff road, I barely survived, stopping only inches before plunging into the sea. The police investigated, but found no proof of sabotage. Still, I knew. These weren't coincidences. My sister was trying to erase me, just as she had once tried to take everything else I loved. One night, when the moon was full, I went down to the basement of the hotel. It was a place I had avoided, old storage rooms, shadows thick as tar. But something pulled me there. In the far corner, behind crates of dusty linens, I found it, a box. Inside, old photographs, yellowed and curling at the edges. Pictures of my family, but not the ones I remembered. There was my mother, holding not one baby, but two. Twins. Girls. The other infant's face was scratched out with ink so violently it tore the paper. I froze, staring at the images. What did this mean? Elizabeth and I weren't twins. At least, I had never been told that. Had my parents hidden something from us? Was there another truth buried in our family's past? As I tried to make sense of it, the lights flickered and died. The basement filled with darkness, thick and suffocating. And in that darkness, I heard it again, Elizabeth's voice, but deeper, twisted, echoing from every wall. You were never meant to live, Christine. I was. You stole it all. The sound grew louder, circling me. I ran, clutching the box to my chest, my heart thundering, until I reached the stairs and burst into the open air. And in that moment, I understood something chilling. This wasn't just about jealousy. This was about destiny, about secrets buried long before Michael, long before betrayal. And my sister, or whatever she had become, would not stop until she destroyed me completely. I couldn't sleep. The photographs burned inside my mind, 2 babies, 1 mother. 1 erased. 1 chosen. I carried the box to my room and spread its contents across the bed. Letters, fragments of journals, old medical records. I pieced them together until the truth began to form. My parents had lost a child at birth, or so they'd told us. But it wasn't death. It was separation. The records revealed a stillborn baby girl, yet a faint note scribbled on the margin, the other survived. Twins. Elizabeth and me. But why hide it? Why erase her from the photographs? Why pretend? The answer came like a wave of ice, because she was never meant to survive. Because one of us was stronger, one of us chosen. And that choice had poisoned Elizabeth her whole life. The next night, I felt her presence stronger than ever. The hotel was silent, every guest asleep. My son stirred in his crib, whimpering, as though sensing what I did. I stepped into the lobby, where the moonlight cut long, silver shapes across the floor. And there she was. Elizabeth. Not the sister I remembered, not the beautiful, envious woman who had stolen my groom. This version of her was shadowed, her eyes hollow pools of black, her smile sharp as glass. You stole him from me too, she hissed. Michael. Even after everything, he chose you. They all chose you. I never stole anything, I whispered, though my hands shook. You took it. You destroyed it. And still you want more. She stepped closer, the air between us chilling. Because you shouldn't exist. I was meant to live. You were the mistake. The chandelier above trembled again. This time, I didn't move. I loved you, I said, tears flooding my eyes. Even when you betrayed me, I loved you. But I won't let you take my son. I won't let you take what Michael left me. Her smile faltered. Just for a second. That second was enough. I pulled the rosary Michael's mother had given me from my pocket. I had carried it every day since the hospice. Clutching it, I raised my voice in a prayer I hadn't spoken since childhood. My words cracked, but I kept going. Elizabeth screamed. Not with pain, but with rage, a sound so unearthly it rattled the windows. Her form flickered, wavered, as though she was both there and not there, flesh and shadow, sister and stranger. And then, she was gone. The silence that followed was deafening. In the weeks after, I searched for her everywhere. Police, investigators, private detectives. No trace of Elizabeth. No footsteps, no fingerprints, no proof she had ever been here at all. Only the letter, only the photographs. Sometimes I wonder if she was truly alive. Or if grief and guilt had resurrected her in me, a ghost born of betrayal. But when I walk the hotel at night, I still feel her. A breath at my neck. A whisper in the dark. My son was born strong, healthy, with Michael's eyes. I named him after his father, as I had promised. The day I brought him home from the hospital, the hotel felt different, warmer, brighter, as though Michael himself lingered in the walls, protecting us. I tell my boy stories every night. Stories about his father, about loyalty and love, about choosing kindness even when the world burns around you. I never tell him about Elizabeth. Not yet. Some ghosts are better left sleeping. But deep inside, I know, one day, she'll return. Whether in flesh or shadow, my sister will find her way back to me. And when that day comes, I'll be ready. Because forbidden love may have broken me once. But motherhood, loss, and survival have built me into something stronger than she ever expected. And this time, she won't win.